Imagine what's possible when learning doesn't get in the way of life. At Capella University, our game-changing FlexPath learning format lets you set your own deadline so you can learn at a time and pace that works for you. It's an education you can tailor to your schedule. That means you don't have to put your life on hold to pursue your professional goals. Instead, enjoy learning your way and earn your degree without missing a beat. A different future is closer than you think with Capella University. Learn more at capella.edu.
This is a Rogue Media Network podcast.
I'm Jordan.
And I'm Rachel.
And this is Astrology Table for Two.
And there's always a third chair for you. This is Rachel.
This is Jordan.
And April.
And this is Astrology Table for Two, where there's always another chair for you, especially if you're April.
Yes.
Yes.
So I guess technically table for three today.
Yeah, table for three. We have a three top right now. I love that. And we're talking the full moon in Aries happening on the 17th of October at 6:27 a.m. Central Daylight Time at 24 degrees of Aries. So not an eclipse. We just had two eclipses. Even though the North Node, which creates eclipses, is still in Aries, it's way too far away from the moon. So we just have a full moon. How are we feeling about this?
I'm exhausted, but personally, I think I've just been doing too much the last few days. Lots of adventure, which is fun, but my body's starting to kind of reap the consequences of that. So physically, meh.
Very Mars and Cancer-ish
Yeah.
right there. Mars and Cancer.
I'm with you on the exhaustion piece. Just feels like
It's just
we've been pushed to the max in
Yeah.
every way. And this new moon is going to make us face the music on that, though.
Yeah.
So it's a good medicine to bring us back. It seems like we're going to try to get free from something, free for something. The universe is giving us some more information, and it's time to face some
be
facts.
ready.
Face some facts, make some adjustments, reflect.
I think I've been struggling with I think why I've pushed myself so far is I've been struggling with FOMO the last few
North
days.
Node in Aries?
Yeah.
Never.
I was
never.
like, oh my God, I'm so fucking tired, but I really want to do this. What if I miss out on it? I don't want to miss out on it. I want to do it. Why
That's
can't
exactly
I do it?
the energy I've been into. It was like, I'm going to make it all work.
Right.
Let's just do it all
Yeah.
and deal with the consequences later.
And here
That
I
is-
am dealing with the consequences
That
in
is
the best
so
way.
Aryan, though.
Mhm.
Aries is the first sign in the zodiac. It's a cardinal fire sign ruled by Mars. So going, doing, moving, shaking. And it represents, it's represented by the ram, and it rules the head, the eyes, the adrenals,
Yes.
and the blood.
Literally was thinking about my adrenals being exhausted.
Oh,
I had that
yeah.
thought on the way over here. I wasn't even connecting it to this full moon, but it's so
Because
connected.
we just been running on adrenaline. That's how it
Absolutely.
feels. I'm just I kind of have this energy, maybe.
As we
And
drink
Rachel,
the Celsius.
Rachel brought me a Celsius.
That's what we
which is
need for the
best.
full moon in Aries is some Celsius.
Yes, thank you.
We're needing to get up and go, especially because, let's be real, y'all. So this moon is ruled by Mars, and the closest aspect it's making to anything is to Mars. And Mars has already entered its retrograde shadow in Cancer. So a couple of things. First, love that mutual reception, even though there's a dynamic square, not easy, tense. It is seeing its ruler, but its ruler is in its place of fall and in its retrograde shadow. So this is how do I put this? Hard feelings
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
and choosing between what you want and what you need. Mars in Cancer is I would love to do the things that I feel like doing. But sometimes the things we feel like doing, North Node in Aries, not always to our best interest, or
No.
maybe it's going to exhaust us.
Maybe a
Yeah.
passive aggressive energy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I
Adrenal
like that.
fatigue. Yeah.
Yeah, passive aggressive is good.
Leaping before looking, especially as
Yeah.
it relates to that, I don't like this. Let me go that way.
Right. Facing our consequences, maybe.
Ooh.
I am right now, literally.
I literally have dynamic tension between emotions and actions.
Yeah.
For sure. Absolutely. And I think that what we're addressing right now, what this moon is highlighting, it's not the end of that. We have Mars in Cancer and then retrograding in early Leo back into Cancer. That's like the whole Mars thing between now and June.
Mm.
So a straight like 6-7 months. Like this is the theme of Mars. And this full moon is kind of like, hello, there's problems here.
Yeah.
And it's not going anywhere.
Yeah, it's going to illuminate it, but in the way the moon does. So in a new perspective, right?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
paradigm shift.
Yeah.
And it's also, thankfully, the moon is sextiling Jupiter, which is also just recently stationed retrograde in Gemini. So Jupiter's pretty stationary. It's like, hello, I'm Jupiter. Despite all this chaos, like there is something good
I'm
that
still
we
here.
have access
Yeah.
to.
Yeah, it's like a guardian angel is still kind of looking out for you. There's
Yeah.
that godmother energy that you may be in the thick of it, but there's some kind of benevolence that's guiding it all.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's important to address to everybody listening. This is a sextile, so this is a choice. It's an opportunity, it's a path, but it's not an inevitability.
That's a really good
Mm.
distinction to make. You have to choose to see
Yes.
it this way. And
Yeah.
it's like the energy is there if you capture it, but you have to set your intention. You have to believe it
Mm-hmm.
and grab it. It won't just it's not inevitable.
And you will have to make a choice.
I
have
think
to.
with Gemini,
You can't just, like-
absolutely.
yeah, you can't just
have
not.
both.
Yeah.
You can't have both, but it's also Jupiter is in its detriment. The moon is in a very hot seat, but it's ruled by its ruler in fall. So there's a lot of opportunity to go awry as well as to go in the right direction. But I think if you know how sometimes, especially when you're like a kid, you know something is wrong, but you do it anyway. You're like, oh, I
Yeah.
know that I shouldn't have that third cookie or, steal it behind mom's back, but I want to. And then you feel bad about it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You're like, I did the wrong thing. Like I'm a bad person. Not quite like, when you're 8, that's true. But I think especially the older you get, this moon is going to invite us to do some stuff that's not right. And we have to say no.
Conflict of morals. Okay.
Yes.
Interesting.
And just know that if you make the wrong choice, you will feel the full weight of it.
yeah.
You're not just going to bypass that guilt.
No.
You're going to be aware.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm too self-aware, so I don't.
And Mercury
wanna
will be
do
in
that.
Scorpio. So it'll be like, I know my own truth.
I know. I know what you are. Like it's like literally looking
See
at yourself
deeply.
in the mirror.
Yeah. And not just surface level.
Yeah.
Deep internal.
I see
stuff.
the monster you become.
Well, and with Mercury too, right there in Scorpio, forgiveness for everybody is going to be sort of hard to come by.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You might even distrust yourself, maybe, and the choices you make.
Yes, but I feel like also with Mercury and Scorpio, you will know the right choice.
Mm.
It's not like, you can do mental gymnastics, Jupiter and Gemini, to be like,
Mhm.
but this is actually the
Yeah,
right choice.
that's
And It's like,
true.
no, you are kind of reasoning, rationalizing, creating a logical fallacy around why you want to do what you want to do.
And sometimes it's just own it. Just say I did it because I wanted to,
Yeah.
and I'm taking responsibility for
Yeah.
doing the wrong thing for the wrong reason, or maybe even for the right reason.
Right. Which that can be hard, but I mean, it does kind of alleviate that weight when you are able to admit and like come to the light and be like, hey, I fucked up. Like, I'm really sorry.
Mm-hmm.
You
And
know,
that's powerful.
yeah.
Oh, that's ownership is huge.
Yeah.
And it also creates, I think, that environment of trust. Because if somebody breaks your trust and then like, hey, this is my fault, I broke your trust, as opposed to denial, which Mars and Cancer
Right.
might want
Which-
to do. Like, no, wasn't me.
Yeah.
over
I-
there. Look at that.
They're
that
just
problem.
defensive. It's like, I mean,
Yes.
yeah, it's,
Mars in Cancer feels very defensive.
Right.
It feels like back up, like I'm going to come out pinching
Yes.
instead of opening my shell and getting vulnerable, getting
right.
soft.
Like, I did this because you did this to me kind of thing. And
oh
then,
yeah,
you know,
I'm justified
right.
in the clap back.
yeah.
But by contrast, if you choose to listen to better angels, Jupiter and Gemini again, and like do the right thing, even if it's hard, then there is no like, you feel less defensive when you're really not worried about defending.
Exactly. The best medicine is just make good choices, stay in your integrity, and then there's nothing to defend.
Right. You don't have nothing to worry about.
You have nothing to
but
worry about.
we make that harder, right? Like,
We do.
the temptation is too much.
Well, in society, I think too makes it harder. And this for me has been
Mm.
sort of my thought around the Jupiter station, right? That just happened a few days before we're recording this, is that in a social time of chaos or breakdown, often we lose moral principles, and we see a lot of examples of lack of integrity around us. But just because we don't see it around us does not make it beyond us. And so there's a lot of temptation to do things that are a little bit wrong, but like everyone's doing it on TikTok.
Right. Or what harm is it going to do if I do it?
The leaders around me aren't setting a good example. So like I'm justified in doing it because everyone's acting selfish.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like that. Instead of when they go low, we go high. It's that temptation to when they go low, I go just as low.
Yeah. No,
I get in the dirt with them.
Right.
If you can't beat them, join them thing.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And it kind of, for me, it comes from a perspective of, well, that's not fair if they get to do it.
Yes.
Like,
Oh,
so
absolutely.
Mars and
not
Cancer
fair.
of you.
like,
And I think fair is also something that it's going to be, with the South Node in Libra, still hard to come by. North Node in Aries, I think we'll have a lot of people making a lot of selfish choices or doing a lot of self-interested actions, specifically with this T-square with Mars and Cancer between, again, a fallen sun in Libra and then the moon in Aries and then the fallen Mars in Cancer. Like, I feel like we are walking a very narrow path. As in, there's a lot of high expectations, and we'll know if we stray from the path. I think with this moon, especially since it's not an eclipse, if we can, as we're all saying, really truly try to act from a place of highest good, highest intention, kind of be that Jupiter, then we probably get more benefit from the changes that are inevitable than, terrifying consequences.
Absolutely. Do you not, with all of this, everyone kind of in the fall and the detriment, does that, to me, that almost feels like it would be easier to access kind of the dark sides of those signs and those energies. It's harder to see the higher path and get the medicine that is always offered.
yeah.
So just be aware, and you could see it in others. I think this is something you'll see play out around you. Like, oh, you could have taken the high road there, but you definitely didn't. So don't fall into that trap.
And I think you're also highlighting, so on the same day as the full moon, we have a few different things going on. We'll talk about Venus entering Sag later. That happens after the moon. But not before. Maybe it's just after. So an hour after the full moon, Venus is sextiling Pluto. Venus in Scorpio sextiling Pluto in Capricorn, just recently direct. And with that Venus sextile Pluto, especially with Scorpio and Capricorn, I feel like there's that opportunity to do like the perfect crime, as in, hey, nobody will actually see this. I'm totally alone. No one's ever going to know.
Yeah.
So do you do the right thing,
And that-
even if there would
yes.
never be any consequences?
The inner conflict, the angel and the devil on the shoulder.
I just get chills. That's the whole thing about like integrity is doing the right thing when no one's watching. This is the energy will definitely be there for you to do the wrong thing when no one's watching, and you'll probably get away with it.
Right. And what do you consider the right thing? What do you consider the wrong thing?
Yeah, where's your own moral center?
Yeah.
What's guiding you here? Where are you drawing your lines? I think there's also that frustration when people want to put their belief systems, their values, and assign them to you, and you may be detaching from someone else's high expectation of you that is incorrect or inauthentic.
Yes.
And you're totally describing as well. So Venus is ruling the South Node, which is in Libra, which is 12 places from where she is in Scorpio when this happens. So it's like that kind of 12th house self-undoing.
Yeah.
You can either have a chance to provide compassion, like say you catch somebody doing something wrong to you and you're able to actually hold them accountable and forgive them in the moment versus you being that person, right? I feel like we'll have a lot of those 12th house themes to deal with, and it's how do you approach that, with compassion or with obsession?
I love that so much. I saw this clip from Dr. Becky Kennedy, who's a big like parenting guru that people love right now. And she was saying, and I think this is so true in all relationships, if a kid, and so like she's describing it in a parenting environment where your child throws something at you like, I hate you. And instead of clapping back and immediately taking that energy and throwing it right back at them, you let it just sit between you and just don't do anything.
Wow.
It's
Don't
way
react.
more likely the child will wake up to what was just hurled and then take that back, pull that energy back toward them, and able to say like, I'm sorry, or I'm owning that, especially like a teenager. We're talking maybe not so much a small child. But in relationships, if someone is hurling something at you, instead of grabbing that energy, throwing it back at them, where they can then feel justified in what they said in the first place. You just let it sit.
I like that.
With all this cardinal energy, right? All the signs we've been talking about, Libra, Cancer, Aries, Capricorn, all cardinal. People are going to start shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like, to your
Fighting
point.
words.
I like that you said like teenage energy because it just makes me think of like impulsive.
Yeah.
Just impulsively
The
reacting.
Aries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aries.
Yeah.
Young,
Just reacting
immature.
immediately, not even thinking, reacting first, you know. I tend to do that, but you know, it's okay.
I feel like Mars in Cancer has that defensive, protective instinct.
Yeah.
Which is like if somebody's coming at me with swords drawn, like my swords already need to be drawn.
Yeah.
And so maybe I'll just
Like
keep
I'm
them
not just
drawn.
gonna stand here. Yeah. Like
Yeah, you don't have to take it and be submissive, but you can also find a way to say, okay, so I'm not gonna go to that level.
Right.
Actually. I'm
and
not
also
gonna-
valuing how important relationships actually are to us too. Sustaining those
Ooh.
relationships.
I read or I saw something earlier today, and it's like, is it the journey or the destination? And then the answer was, it's the company.
Oh my God. I love that.
Oh, that's
Yes.
good.
And I totally was like, this is very true. Like, what
Yeah.
is life in a vacuum without anyone?
Right.
It's nothing. Self-sufficiency. Like, Aries is great, but Aries needs Libra. Like, there needs to be people to protect, defend, act for.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like you can't do the journey alone. You have to forgive.
Because we're all human.
Yeah.
And humans are fallible, right?
Absolutely.
And so, of course, we have to deal with our fallibility as a single human being and then as a whole.
Yeah.
And that requires a lot of understanding.
Yeah. And in our nature, we just humans in general, community is very important. Like
Mhm.
incredibly important.
They say it's just as important to have meaningful relationships as it is to exercise and eat well.
Yeah.
It has the same on health markers, the
Like-
same, if not more strong of an impact on determining like length of life and how healthy you'll be.
Yeah.
It's wild.
I feel like Jimmy Carter is like a living example
Oh my
of that.
God.
You're like, oh my God.
A
this-
national treasure.
Yeah. Right? And his marriage to Rosalind Carter, I'm like, oh, I don't even, taking your political beliefs aside, like,
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I love them. I think that's wonderful. So let's see. On the same day as this moon, Venus enters Sag, and the moon enters Taurus right after that. So I feel like we'll have a real quick come down
Mm-hmm.
from the full moon. Like moon in Aries, rage, 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 ruled by Mars. And then you get the moon in Taurus, which is its favorite place to be. And it's ruled by Venus now in Sag, which ultimately, like, let's be real, Venus in Sag ruled by Jupiter, who's ruled by Mercury, who at that point in Scorpio will be ruled by Mars, who will be ruled by the moon. So we're all, like, it comes back to the moon. We are vacillating. We're not stable. We're not kind of reporting to one person. It's all this big merry-go-round of astrological energy.
Ooh, merry-go-round's a great
Yeah.
term.
But that moon in Taurus, I feel like it's going to be like that teenager after the fight where you're
Mhm.
like,
Oh, shoot. Sorry.
oh.
Hmm.
Yeah, that.
I didn't mean that.
Mm,
Yeah.
Crying because you hurt someone else's feelings.
Yeah. Oh, being empathetic.
That is so this.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is so this. But I like that Venus goes into Sag beforehand because I think it will lighten the mood.
Yeah.
Woohoo.
It won't
Love
last
that.
forever. It'll burn hot and then burn out.
Okay.
Well, we'll be intense and be all over the place. Like I can't tell you. I'm feeling like if you have the opportunity to on Thursday, which you probably won't, just like do as little as possible and let things happen to you.
I like this. I'm gonna take that.
You know what? Yeah, I'm applying that.
It's
I'll
my
be at
last day at work.
but yeah.
It's my last
Oh,
day.
yeah, girl.
Can't make
Show
that up.
and let things happen.
Yeah.
To you.
Yep. No specific actions I'm going to try to take. Just
Yeah. Just
going
stay
with it.
neutral.
So I want to talk more about Venus and Sag, but before we do that, I think we need a break for a word from the sponsors that have been coming. We love that.
We love you guys.
Okay, we're back and so excited to talk about Venus entering Sagittarius on the same day as the full moon, Thursday, October 17th at 2:27 p.m. Central Time. This is exciting.
Oh, we like this.
I am very into
I
this.
really like this.
I know you do. I know.
If you could see the smile on my face right now.
The
Sagittarius happens to be in the 9th sign, the mutable fire sign ruled by Jupiter and Jupiter. Jupiter.
We knew what you meant.
Jupiter and represented by the centaur Archer, ruling the thighs, legs, and liver.
Yes. So I feel like this is emphasizing kind of what we've been talking about. We're going to need to go. Go, go, go. This is not a chill lunar
Mm-mm.
cycle. Like we're
Run,
going to be
don't
moving.
walk. Yeah.
Yes. Yes, totally. And I think Venus and Sag is going to want to run.
Oh, it's going to go. And I'm really curious your thoughts, Rachel, because to me, this feels like we are accelerating something with pleasure, with money, travel, international pursuits. And even I think we forget sometimes that Sagittarius, yes, is all about fun, but it's also about absolute truth, higher learning.
Yes.
It's understanding. And so with Venus there's some good magic.
Yeah, there's some expansion there in some realm of our life. And I
Yes.
think we just need to be open-minded to it and optimistic about it.
I mean, open-minded would be the ideal energy to bring.
Right.
But also watch out because you may, expensive, fun opportunities may come up that are going to be quite expensive
Yep.
and you may feel completely justified in spending that money.
That impulsivity.
Yeah.
With the North Node in Aries, to your point, Jordan, and then with Venus in Sag being ruled by Jupiter in Gemini, Mercury
Mhm.
sign, like that little shouldn't I? Should I buy it? Should I not buy it? Is it time? Is it not time? Like I can see that being a huge thing for us, that vacillation of like, oh, but I'm so excited.
Right.
But it feels good.
Right. Who am I to deny myself this? You know?
It's like that YOLO FOMO, like today is the day.
Yeah,
Venus
you'll-
and Sag is like, yes, right
You
now.
might regret it tomorrow, but hey, live in the fucking present, man.
But it's important to say, too, that there might be some higher purpose or some reason for that very dilemma or that very pivot or that very expansion or that purchase, whatever it is, even though it might not be simple and nothing this lunar cycle or the last one is or was going to be simple. Like we're at the high point between now and the end of next year of change for like the next few decades. So I know everyone's like, when is this going to be, fun and chill? It will be later, just not yet. Things are shaking up, but I think that there's always a reason. Always a reason. And Jupiter is retrograde. So it might be like you've always wanted to purchase some really specialized art supplies, in your case, Jordan, and you don't want to make the investment and you've thought about it. And then you're like, you know what, even if I quote unquote don't have the money, I'm going to pull the trigger. And you end up making this series of things that is actually really integral to your future career or
Right.
something of this nature. It could be a choice that might not be wise, but it might be right.
Right. Reap what you sow, but in a positive way.
Yeah, it's like thinking about the investment and what are you investing in?
The long term.
Can this play out in a way that will be worth it in the long term? And even if it's not, you'll just learn the lesson.
Right.
It's okay.
That's one thing. Sagittarians, if I can say it, are tough bitches.
Oh, yeah, they are.
We'll fall and we'll get back up again.
Road warriors.
Yeah, we'll keep going. That's the thing. We'll fall and we might cry about it, but we'll get back up. We'll be okay. We'll dust ourselves off.
'Cause
Yeah,
you
the
believe in
journey
that.
keeps going.
Yeah,
for
the
you.
journey is the most important part.
So speaking of those, purchases or trips or things we might want to do, Venus has no inherent power in Sagittarius. She's not a triplicity ruler, anything like that. But she does have one bound, one Egyptian term between 12 and 17 degrees of Sag. So if you're trying to do something that's relatively important, I think that's the best time, the best window. If you see her between 12 and 17, that's when to go like, you know what? Yeah, I'll pull that trigger because I've got a little bit of a guarantee or a warranty or like,
Right.
there's some power in there that might help me.
Maybe
Especially.
maybe a glimmer on the horizon. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like you get the best version of Venus and Sag during that time, or she has the most like secret stashes of hiking equipment or whatever.
Yeah, it's a secret sauce or some kind of extra, I don't know.
Tools.
Tools, something you didn't see
Right.
that ends up coming through in the end.
Like in the video games, and you walk around and
Yeah, you collect some
things,
coins.
yeah, that give you energy or that give you
A
something to
power
help.
up.
Yes.
I also think it's important to point out that Venus in Sag is opposite to Jupiter in Gemini. And even though Jupiter doesn't love Gemini and it's retrograde, we always love benefic connection. So like she can see her ruler. There is that reception there where Jupiter's like, hey, it's me. You know, I can help you from over here. Even if there is some tension or maybe like you have to wait a little bit longer than Sagittarius wants to,
Right.
it's Venus seeing Jupiter.
Yeah, it's in the line of sight. So there is some kind of process or channel through which the magic can flow.
That glimmer you talked about.
The
Like,
glimmer.
you can see the glimmer.
Yeah.
You're like,
Hey,
yes.
girl. Like, it's
Yeah.
just like the wave. Like,
Yeah.
Hey, girl.
It's like seeing your best friend across a crowded room. Maybe you're not with them or together, but just knowing
that
Yes.
they're there.
their
can-
presence is
yeah.
there can make you feel more comfortable.
Especially if
and
you're overstimulated. There's
Right.
a lot going on. You know, you feel unprepared.
You feel
Having
like
that
there's a
comfort.
safety.
Yeah. Knowing that someone you love is there.
Not that Venus and Sag cares about safety that much. I think it's much more of like a let's discover, let's play, let's go, let's compete, let's be stimulated, let's, explore.
Yeah. Let's be active.
Mm-hmm. And I think running is a great way. Like if anybody here wants to run, like that's something that you've been thinking about taking up, I think this transit would be great for that, as well as, doing anything that gets you moving in a hopeful or positive direction. Maybe that's hiking, walking. Maybe that's even just like having gardening. I don't know, something.
Yeah, something with the legs,
Yes.
which we love because Sag rules
Mhm.
rules the legs. I've literally been thinking about starting up running again. So
Really?
it's really funny you said that. Yes.
And it's the same thing too with Venus and Jupiter, like because Gemini rules the arms. So I think getting something involved whole body that's an activity, since this
that's
is the
good.
moon and Aries cycle, where you're like, I feel positive about this activity. I'm involving my whole self in.
Right. Releasing that energy physically.
Yes.
I'm a girl that loves to walk. I take my walk like almost every day in my little like safe space.
Mm-hmm.
And that is like my meditation. And I did not get to walk the last 2 days. So I'm itching for it.
The
I'm yearning
Sagittarian,
for it.
of course.
Of course, that's what
I've
I've
been-
been. I've been busy doing other things that have been too exhausting for me, so I need to walk and calm down.
Walk and calm down.
Well, Venus will be here in Sag until it enters Capricorn on the 11th of November. So we get like, a month-ish of Venus in Sag. And I think that should be more fun.
Yeah,
Like Venus in Capricorn is going to be like, all right, now let's get serious. Like you just fucked off for a little bit. Like let's get down to business.
we need the structure back. What are we doing?
And she has some more power there. So I think that we're not going to see any less fun. Or I say fun. We're not going to see any less effect from Venus. Like we might actually get paid a little bit later for the work that we do right now.
Oh, good point. Yeah, this is when the paycheck actually hits the bank.
Yeah,
versus
Venus and
the
Cap.
contract being signed. Yeah.
Exactly. And I think that it's going to be just 2 transits. I think did you say 2? Top 2 transits?
mhm.
Okay, you're awesome. So one more transit here, and then there's not really anything else significant despite all of the literal cacophony of things happening in the sky. Nothing exact, nothing too major is happening except for
the sun entering Scorpio. Dun 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 dun. It's gonna be really great. I love Scorpio season. And it enters Scorpio, on Tuesday, October 22nd at 5:13 p.m.
And Scorpio is the 8th sign in the zodiac, fixed water sign ruled by Mars. We've got a lot of Mars going on. And represented by the scorpion, ruling the genitals and excretory system, including the prostate, colon, urinary tract, and rectum. So I take this as there's some shit we got to let go of.
Literally.
Yep.
And spiritually.
Let it pass.
Yeah, and spiritually. Let it pass and flow naturally.
And digest or alchemize the change.
I'm so excited. Obviously, I am a
Yeah,
sun.
I was gonna say,
sun-
how do you
sun
feel?
Scorpio.
Yeah.
So this is my season. It feels
Yes.
like coming home every time it happens. One thing that I felt like wanted to come up today, specifically around this transition, because we know Scorpio is deep. It's emotional, but it's emotionally not just deep, but it's dark. It wants to go to those places most people don't want to talk about, things that are
Yeah.
taboo even.
Can't help it.
But literally can't help it. Before we started recording, we were talking about a social media post I shared this week that was vulnerable but powerful. And so that's very Scorpio.
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely.
And specifically, this area, Scorpio rules sex and the genitals and all of that. And thinking about, I think people have this idea that Scorpio is just, I don't know, revengeful or almost underhanded or plotting or scheming. But really, I think Scorpio, especially in this season with this energy, just wants to be seen, known, and heard and have deep connections in relationship. And that is what brings the intimacy and the connection through sex and through the body to body
Yes.
intensity that can happen. It has to be through transformation and transmutation, which comes from deep places emotionally.
And deep work.
Deep
Yeah,
work.
Scorpio puts in the work.
Scorpio wants someone to do the work with.
Yes.
And that is when you get to nirvana.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Well, it's
yeah.
about that revelation of truth, like being completely naked, not just physically, but emotionally, spiritually. And in that raw form, you are your most pure. And I think Scorpio has that deep desire to know the true emotional, spiritual, sensual nature of other living beings.
Yes.
100%.
Yeah.
That
It wants
desire.
to see your truth, like your core. I think Scorpio also inspires so much transformation in others as well when you do have that connection with them.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, to embrace that transformation. To show that
Intimacy.
it's not painful. It's not as painful as you think it's going to be. It's necessary.
So Scorpio can handle it.
Oh,
You
absolutely.
can bear it all, and a Scorpio won't look away.
Yeah.
They're
They're going to look harder.
They'll look harder. Show me more.
Yeah.
And then show you how to transmute and transform it, elevate, evolve beyond.
Show you that your pain doesn't have to rule you. You can
Yeah.
you can use that. You
Harness
can use
it.
it. Yeah, it's power.
If you yoke it, it will pull you.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
It will take you. And Scorpio is incredibly strategic as well. And I think we're going to see that especially because both of our malefics, Mars and Saturn, they're in water signs. The other two, Cancer and Pisces. So the sun in Scorpio, I think, has this amazing opportunity to work with both malefics. And do we love contact with both malefics? No. But trine is just about the best angle you can get.
That's so true.
And that water trine energy has that to all of your points.
Yeah.
That complete internal felt sense transformation, transcendence, transmutation. Like what I'm getting here is like doing deep work that will allow us to show up, this next coming year in 2025 during these heights, these peaks of astrological energy in our most essential form.
Yeah. And you don't have to do it alone either.
Yes. Yeah. And I think there's no way to, especially because, again, the rulership ping pong puts us back at the moon. And then,
What
it
a
all
surprise.
goes around and
the
around.
merry-go-round
Yeah.
turns
The
again.
carousel, yes.
But with that moon, like there is an inherent thing with moons of caring and being cared for.
Yeah.
Right. And so we are, I think, taking care of and then caring for ourselves
Yes.
as well. So this Scorpio season, I think there'll be a lot of social or like care related, service related engagement, more so than other Scorpio seasons.
Okay. I like that.
And like being of service can be annoying, to be honest with you.
Right.
To be like, oh, I'm doing this caretaking day after day, or helping the so-and-so do this, or struggling through it. And with that Saturn in Pisces, especially retrograde, I'm getting that vibe of like, okay, I know that I'm supposed to, sun, right, provide my life force energy to work towards this long-term goal and serve my community, but it's a lot.
Yeah. Maybe it could build some resentment.
Mars in Cancer.
Well, that, and I feel like even more like Scorpio kind of trait too, like harboring resentment,
Bitterness.
Bit of disappointment from somebody, right?
Feeling betrayed.
Yes, feeling betrayed is a huge one.
Or holding a grudge.
Yeah.
It can happen.
I think clarity, especially since Mercury will be in Scorpio at this time, clarity is what resolves a lot of that. Because it's always easier to bear the burdens you chose, like with a clear mind, instead of ones you realize are foisted upon you or you were tricked into carrying.
Right. When you have all the information and you can say, all right, I'm signing up for this,
Yep.
versus finding out the details later and feeling totally screwed over.
Yeah.
Ooh. Especially in relationship. If you know what you're signing up for, even if it does not work out and it's the worst thing ever, you're like, I learned, that was my choice, blah, 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 as opposed to it being secret.
Right.
Oh, 1,000%.
And no secrets this season.
But I think
We're
there's
gonna be
big
raw.
secret energy though.
I'm like, but it's actually so much.
But despite that, I think there will be with Aries, this lunation, right? It's Marsy. And then there's the Scorpio stuff, Mercury, the sun going on. I think that there is going to be a lot of like, what's the word? Action, orientation. We're doing Mars.
We're doing Mars.
Yeah. We're investigating.
That's sad.
Well, kind of Scorpio.
No, I know. The Sagittarian investigation is why Scorpio knows so much. It's the sign right
You're right.
So
My bad.
You go out and you see the world and you're like, some parts of the world are dark and bad.
Yeah.
I'm scared. I'm going to shoot my arrow there anyway.
Oh, I've already
It's okay.
shot it.
Yeah. It's okay. I have a Scorpio moon.
Oh, that's funny.
And so I think this Scorpio season, right, which only lasts until November 21st when the sun enters Sag, where it does gain a little bit of dignity, I think it's going to be very important strategically for us to set up the rest of the year. Mars does station retrograde. You know, I know we keep talking about Mars. It stations retrograde in December, early December on the 5th or 6th. But until that time, all the territory that we're treading, all the actions we're taking, we're going to have to readdress that. So I think now is the time to strategize.
Mm-hmm.
And then once that retrograde happens, we can sort of amend, adjust, and then the third pass, right, execute completely all the things that we had planned. But it's hard to know what you need until you know what you need. I think this Scorpio season, like, okay, I see things. Now I know what I need.
Yeah, don't waste the opportunity to really face the darkness and look at the dynamics that are happening so that you can strategize, you can prepare, and then be ready for that third round of execution when it comes.
I don't know about y'all too, but I'm getting a little bit of like sort of intimacy, like tantra, sex healing, sort of sex
Yeah.
magic kind of vibes from this
Yes.
whole
Well,
thing.
I was
Yes.
gonna say, like, this feels very, very much around sex.
Yeah.
Like, it just does. And I don't know why that came up so much, but it just has to be the energy, because I don't normally sit and contemplate all the ways to bring Scorpio energy to that. Like, yeah, it's almost tantric. It's karmic healing. It's one thing to think about is freedom from sexual trauma or abuse.
Yes.
Like, maybe this is the moment you get through to the other side, and
The breakthrough.
it's the
Yeah.
breakthrough so that we can heal it like once and for all.
Right.
And it's that bridge we're afraid to cross, but if you can cross it with the right support and the right energy, facing it in the right way, then maybe it's the thing that we've handled, and we don't have to deal with it in such a heavy way anymore.
Right. Letting go. Learning to let go. Which with Scorpio placements, that's really hard to do.
That feels like
Yeah.
very water trine-ish.
Yeah, absolutely water trine.
Yeah.
Because you have with Pisces and Cancer, we can think about mother wounds, we can think about home, we can think about psychic energy and that deep, murky, underwater grief.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, absolutely. So I love this stuff. This
Yeah.
is like my happy
Scorpio
place.
stellium.
I'm so into it.
But yeah, will we stagnate in it, or will we allow ourselves to let go?
Right, you can
know.
drown in it,
Yeah.
or you can let it almost like a baptism. Like
Yeah.
come like go down and
Cleanse,
come up
yes.
as a cleansing.
You have the power to come up. You know.
Standing water can create, disease, or
Right.
it can be like fermentation, which is alchemy, which is,
Yeah.
alcohol.
What a good analogy.
Yes.
And I think we have to choose what ingredients though are in there determines what happens, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What comes out on the other end?
And I think to your earlier point, April, intention is just ultimately key here.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
'Cause it's like, what am I here to do? And if we can stay focused and not get distracted by Jupiter and Gemini shiny things.
Ooh.
What's that over there?
Yeah. What's that? Hold on. Give me a second.
But I think there's the chance, especially with the Venus sextile we talked about, and then with the Jupiter sextile to the moon, Like there is a chance for joy. There is a chance for benefit, for seeing immediate results this lunar cycle, even though we know these retrogrades have us like the story's not done yet. I think now is the time though to sort of, I don't want to say cocoon because there's too much Mars for that, but almost like the, okay, now I'm going to go figure everything out. Scout. I'm going to scout.
Ooh, scout. Yeah.
Internal and external scouting.
Mm-hmm.
For what's next, because the next is gonna come at us hard and fast. I think we're all already sensing in our lives. I'm sure y'all listening are feeling that, because our next lunation is a new moon in Scorpio, which is happening on November 1st. So
Can't wait.
more Mars, right? More change, more doing, more alchemy.
Mm-hmm.
What are y'all gonna do that day?
November 1st.
It's a Friday,
Right before the election, though.
right after Halloween.
And it's Dia de los Muertos,
Mhm.
so Day of the Dead. Perfect day for
Oh,
a Scorpio
yeah.
new moon.
Yes.
Yeah, so I would say plan to commune with your true psychic self.
Yes.
Make space to, let something from the other side cross
Yeah.
over.
Tune in.
Yeah.
Actually open your intuition.
Y'all just totally cued me in. I think if I could give any words of advice to both myself and everybody listening, it would be listen to your intuition
Mm-hmm.
and act upon it, because we can't fall into that synchronicity. We can't kind of catch the wave or the drift of everything that is if we don't listen and we don't actually take action. So one of my best and most favorite teachers, Ben Decker, he's a wonderful meditation instructor, but he's also someone involved with transformation, alchemy, magic, etc. He set me on an assignment when I first went to study with him. And he was like, okay, every day for a week, I need you to actually act upon every random thought that comes into your head. You can choose to dismiss it, or you can choose to take an action upon it, but you need to address every one, see what happens. You'll change your life.
Oh my gosh, I want to do this.
That
It
is so
did.
cool.
It
It did change your life?
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought of somebody I hadn't thought of. Shout out Will Snyder from my college Spanish class. Hadn't thought of this man in years. It had been 7 years since I'd gone to college. Call him up. An hour later, I'm having a Kundalini awakening on the floor because he had given me a meditation that he got in Teotihuacan, which I didn't even know he was there. Anyway,
Wow.
it was like, wow, this changed everything.
Listen
Yeah.
to the pings.
A spiritual ascendance.
I feel like we are, oh, that's good, Jordan. We're either good at listening or acting. I feel like very few people are good at doing both. So this is bringing them together. Whichever one you're weaker in, emphasize it. If you're really good at listening, but it's hard to take aligned action, think about making a plan. How are you going to create space for you to act upon these pings? Or vice versa. If you're really good at just doing, how are you going to slow down to create space to get
yeah.
quiet and listen?
The word that's coming up for me is implementation.
Implementation is good.
Like we feel, we understand, and then we do or we don't, but we have to do both.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, it's been awesome
This
to
is
do
a-
this with y'all
Beautiful.
both.
Love doing this every 2 weeks. Incredible.
We have to have you for the Scorpio.
Yes,
moon.
I will. I
Please.
have
I was
to
like,
be
please
there.
come
There's no-
back.
There's no other
I'll be
way.
so depressed if you aren't here.
Trust me, I will be.
Well, thank y'all for listening, and we'll be back
Yes.
with you soon.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
This has been a Rogue Media Network production. Are you a podcaster? Let's talk podcast hosting. Are you tired of your current podcast host? Need real support in a community that gets it? At Rogue Media Network, we offer top-tier podcast hosting services to help you thrive. From hosting and distribution to dedicated support, we've got you covered. Starting as low as $25 a month. Join our community of passionate podcasters today. Contact us at hello@roguemedianetwork.com.